back to another episode of the Giant Topic Podcast. I'm your host, Christian Cruz, and we have a pregame preview for you guys today as the New York Giants will be headed on the road to face the Philadelphia Eagles in an NFC East showdown. A game that, in my opinion at least, is a highly anticipated game for both respective teams. Now look, there's a lot to talk about, and we best believe we got you covered going into this video. However, before we start, if you have not already, join the topic, hit that subscribe button, leave a like and a comment below. We are really trying to grow this channel, and we simply can't do that without you guys. So we really do appreciate your support, and you can find us on all social media platforms under the Giant Topic. So again, thank you so much for your support, and let's dive into this video. Now look, I say that this is a highly anticipated game for both teams because, let's be honest, just 2 weeks ago, the New York Giants did something they have not done versus the Philadelphia Eagles in a very long time. And that's winning in a meaningful game against the Eagles. In convincing fashion, let alone, right? 34-17, Cam Scatterbo has 3 touchdowns in that game. Jackson Dart has his coming out party. The defense was hitting on all cylinders. They played complementary football. And that's what they're going to need to do if they're going to want to have a win against this Philadelphia Eagles team, who is going to be healthier going into this game than what they were when we last played them. Philadelphia will be getting Landon Dickerson back. They will be getting Jalen Carter back. Quinyon Mitchell will be back in the lineup as well. 3 players that did not play the first time that the New York Giants faced them. On top of that, you do have guys like A.J. Brown, who's dealing with the hamstring, who may not play. I'm pretty sure it'll be a game-time decision. You have Adoree Jackson dealing with a concussion. So the New York Giants, despite the fact of possibly not having A.J. Brown and not having to deal with Adoree Jackson, they are still going to be fighting an uphill battle. Now, the New York Giants will be getting guys like John Michael Schmitz back, so that'll definitely help out their interior. And then you have guys like Darius Slayton looking to come back, so I think that'll help out this offense, who lacks a true threat at wide receiver, even with the signing of Ray McCloud. I think defensively, they are going to be really tested. When you have guys like Javon Holland, who's not practicing, he's most likely going to be out. When you have guys like Paulson Adebo dealing with the knee injury, most likely going to be out. Guys like Chauncey Golston dealing with the neck. There's going to be a lot of pressure on this secondary to really hold up their end of the bargain. And while I don't have a lot of faith in Deonte Banks, the Giants are going to have to rely on him having a clean game if they want to have a chance of winning this game against the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles came off of a very impressive win against the Minnesota Vikings. That was a game that I watched myself. Jalen Hurts got it done both through the air and on the ground, looking like the Jalen Hurts that we saw last year, right? Targeting guys downfield. A.J. Brown had himself a very good performance. Same with Devonta Smith. Saquon Barkley is still Saquon Barkley. And again, when you have guys like Jalen Carter coming back into the lineup when he didn't play the last time the New York Giants faced them, that's going to be a big boost for their defense. John Michael Schmitz is going to have his hand full. This interior offensive line are going to have their hands full. Now, I do think that when you look at this Giants team, it starts with Jackson Dart, right? Jackson Dart is playing very good football right now. He has 791 passing yards, 165 rushing yards, 7 touchdowns through the air, 3 interceptions with a 60% completion rate, 3 rushing touchdowns, and he's doing all of this without Malik Nabers, which to me is very impressive. And I got to give a lot of credit to Mike Kafka and Brian Daboll for making the most out of the players that they have with this offense on a whim, right? You have guys like Theo Johnson and Daniel Bellinger, who are one of 2 tight end pairs to both have 170 receiving yards apiece this season. So for me, I would expect those 2 to be heavily involved in the game plan as well. I know that they don't really want to run 12 and 13 personnel, but unfortunately, they don't really have a choice due to the players that they currently have on this roster. I do think, though, that this New York Giants team has played well against very good defenses thus far this year. Right? We saw how this offense came and showed out against a Jesse Minster coach defense at the LA Chargers. We saw him against Vic Fangio. And when you're able to score 5 touchdowns against the Denver Broncos, who let's be honest, is the best defense in the NFL right now, to me, that's very impressive. Very, very impressive. And I got to give, again, a lot of credit to this coaching staff and the players, too, of course, for being able to have success on offense despite not having Malik Neighbors and not having a true wide receiver, two on this roster. Now, I will say this much, right? They are going to need to get to Jalen Hurts. They are going to need to make Jalen Hurts uncomfortable. And when you have a guy like Brian Burns, who's leading the league in sacks with 9 and tackles for loss, when you have guys like Dexter Lawrence, who has not been the Dexter Lawrence that we are used to seeing, right? And you have Kayvon, who, in my opinion, is having a pretty solid year. And you pair that with Abdul Carter, who's just itching to have that true breakout performance that we know he's due to have. This defense is going to have to put pressure on Hurts more than what we saw just 2 weeks ago. And I think they will be able to do that. Now, I do think, again, the secondary will be tested, especially when you have to rely on Deontay Banks to have a clean game, when he's a liability. And it's very unfortunate to say that because they did trade up for Deontay Banks, but the facts are the facts. When he steps on the field, he is an instant liability, and we just saw that against the Denver Broncos, giving up a touchdown, showing no effort on the field, not even looking like he wants to be on the field. But unfortunately, the Giants don't have a lot of depth at that position currently, or depth that they at least trust to start over Deontay Banks. Cordell Flott typically matches up very well against A.J. Brown, which we have seen time and time again. And right now, he's rated as the number one corner per PFF and Pro Football Reference. So take that with what you will. Well, actually, let me take a couple steps back. At least the number one coverage corner by PFF and Pro Football Reference. So take with that what you will. I do think, though, that offensively we are going to have to see them get the ground game going against this Philadelphia team, which I don't think will be a struggle for this offense. I think surprisingly, just last week, we saw Tyrone Tracy break off a 31-yard touchdown. You saw Cam Scatterville getting it done through the ground, getting it done through the air as well. And Jackson Dart picking up plays with his legs. They are going to have to extend drives. They can't come out flat and give up short field advantage, to the Philadelphia Eagles. Because if so, they are going to be in my opinion, a shootout. Which you don't want to be in if you're going against the Philadelphia Eagles, especially when you have a backfield that contains Saquon Barkley and you have guys like A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. Now, I do think that this will be a game where, if you take into consideration Philly is going to be healthier going into this game than what they were, and the Giants are going to be limping into this game compared to what they were just 2 weeks ago, you could make the argument that Philly should win this game, right? They are on paper at least a better team than the New York Giants. But I do think that this is not the same old New York Giants that we are used to seeing. And despite them being 2-5, I'm not as negative as I typically would be in previous seasons where, they're out of the playoff race, there's no hope for the future, we're already doing mock drafts. No, I mean, for me, I'm very excited to see Jackson Dart's progression, and I think as long as you have Jackson Dart under center, he gives you a shot at winning games. He gives you hope. I do think that this team is headed in the right direction. Now, I will say, I do hope that if they are going to roll with Graham Gano, you better pray it doesn't bite you in the ass. Because you do have Younghoe Koo on the practice squad, who I understand that they're saying that Jude McAtamy won the kicking competition, but if that's the case, bring in more competition. I was in favor of cutting Graham Gano last year, considering the fact that he's aging, he is injury prone. He also did not play well last year in the games that he did play. And this year he's making $3 million and he's been injured. So they better hope that if they do play Graham Gano, who's coming off of the injured reserve, that it doesn't bite them in the ass. I personally would like to see Younghoe Koo get a shot. I think he brings you NFL experience. He's been there, he's done that, and on top of that, he's rarely injured, something that Graham Gano can't say. So while I do think that this team will be tested, I think that it'll be not only just an entertaining game, but I do think that this will be a game where this offense will continue to build off of what we have seen them build off of in recent weeks. Now, this isn't going to be easy by any stretch of the imagination. I do expect Saquon Barkley to have a bounce back performance. I think the Giants had a good game plan at stopping him, and they were very successful. But I do see this as a game where Jalen Hurts is looking to have a better performance than what he did 2 weeks ago. He missed Devonta Smith on what would have been a walk-in touchdown. On the same play that he got picked off by Cordell Flott, you had A.J. Brown wide open in the end zone. I think Jalen Hurts will have a better performance. But if you can put pressure on Jalen Hurts, if you can make him uncomfortable, again, I like their chances. Now, hopefully, Shane Bowen has a better performance than what he did this past week against the Denver Broncos, where, for 3.5 quarters, I mean, you had many people saying, is this defense taking a turn? Has Shane Bowen really come to his senses? And lo and behold, due to bad play calling and players not executing, we are where we are, right? But I think it would be naive to say that the New York Giants don't have a chance to win in this game. I think that Philly, despite their record, is a beatable team. I think that they're a very vulnerable team, if you ask me. And I think the New York Giants can do the impossible. I think that they can. And I might be crazy for saying that, but I think that they can. I think that that streak comes to an end, and the New York Giants leave with the W, and they end up 3-5. Now, obviously, if I'm wrong, and I'll eat crow with that, no problem. But I see a New York Giants team who has looked good against some of the best defenses in the NFL. Offensively, they're getting it done. And defensively, when you have guys like Burns, Tibbs, Kayvon, Abdul Carter in the mix, I mean, that is a recipe to have a dominant performance against any offense. And again, if we can play complementary football, why can't this New York Giants team win? Now, I do think that being in that hostile environment, which will be unfamiliar for Jackson Dart, Philly is a complete enigma of its own, if you will. The Link is a hostile environment unlike any other in the NFL. I think this will be a good litmus test for Jackson Dart. I think that if he could come out with the win, the narrative around this Giants team, the narrative around Jackson Dart will only get more positive. It'll only increase. But ultimately, it's going to come down to who can have the fewest turnovers in this game and who could capitalize on their drives. If we're having a game where we're kicking field goals, I don't expect this New York Giants team to win. But if we could have games where, similar to the Chargers game or the last time we played Philly or even this Denver game, where we could start off hot and we could put some scoring drives together, and if our defense can pin their ears back, I like the New York Giants' chances. But let us know your thoughts below. How are you feeling in regards to this game? Is this something that you're feeling confident with? Do you think the New York Giants would lose this game? What are some of the things that you're looking for? Because for me, I'm looking at players like Cordell Flott. I'm hoping he has a good performance. If A.J. Brown plays, I would like to see that matchup. Deonte Banks, can he step up in place of Paulson Adebo? We will see. We will see. That's a tall task to ask Deonte Banks, but ultimately he doesn't have a choice. And how does Jackson Dart look playing in the hostile environment that the Link is? So I'm very intrigued to see how this New York Giants team comes out and performs this Sunday. Let us know your thoughts below. We'll see you guys on the next video.